Hey, Kayla Meyer here, your Ottawa Realtor. Today I'm taking a break from exploring the city of Ottawa, and I'm just going to have a little office chat with you about some questions I generally get asked from buyers and sellers concerning conditional offers. So first off, what is a conditional offer? Well, for any of you that watch perhaps real estate shows that take place in the States, down there they call them contingencies. So if you hear someone talking about contingencies, fulfilling the contingencies, up here we call those conditions. And essentially a condition is a requirement that usually the buyer includes in an offer that has to be met within a certain time frame for that offer to become official, for them to officially agree to purchase the home. So conditions can take many forms, but there are some standard conditions we see in offers here in Ottawa and elsewhere, of course, across Canada. So I'm going to go over those with you today and give you a little bit of a overview so you know what to expect if you're in the position of submitting or receiving a conditional offer. All right, so first off, number one, condition of financing. That's probably the most frequent condition you'll see in offers, and what that means is the buyer would like to have some time to secure their financing for the property before officially moving forward. So hopefully they do have a pre-approval of financing. That's what I suggest for all of my clients before we start seeing properties, but a pre-approval is not an official approval. So once you really make an offer on a property, you come to an agreement on terms, so price, closing date, things like that, you still want to make sure that you're going to be approved for that specific property and that specific price. So what a condition of financing gives you is a number of days to submit all the paperwork to your financial advisor, your lender, your mortgage broker, and they're going to do all the due diligence on their end to make sure that your financing is going to be secured when you close on that property, and you're not going to have any problems paying for that property when the time comes. All right, so second most frequent condition we're going to see in offers here in Ottawa is a condition of inspection. So obviously, you go through a home, you fall in love with the home, you want to buy that home, but do you really know everything about that home? No, of course not. And what you're going to have is a professional home inspector come through the home and do a very thorough, usually 3-hour inspection, a visual inspection of that home, and let you know what's going on that you might have missed. Now, a home inspection doesn't cover everything because obviously we're not opening up walls. We're not going to know what's going on in places that we can't access, but you are going to have a much thorough inspection than you would have had on your own. They're going to go in the attic. They're going to look at the electrical panel, the plumbing, things like that, everything you can see to make sure that you're purchasing a home that is sound, it's in good condition, or that at least you know what's going on. And then you might have the opportunity to renegotiate with the seller. If you find something that's more of a significant problem, something you weren't expecting, oftentimes a buyer might re-enter into negotiations, and sellers are usually reasonable if it's something that was very unexpected. Otherwise, you have your inspection, you might find a few things, but as long as they're small and normal home maintenance type things that you find in the home, you're just going to lift that condition and carry on with your purchase. All right, third, another condition that you might encounter or want to include when making an offer is a condition of insurance. Now, this is less frequently the case. Usually if you're buying a property, it's been insured, so you're buying it, you're going to assume you can get insurance for that property. And really 99.99% of the time, you're perfectly fine to just assume that. But there are some cases where you might want to include this condition just to make sure that you can get insurance easily for that property and to make sure that it's not going to be too costly. So some instances might be a very old home, perhaps a century home somewhere in the glebe, or maybe a surrounding town of Ottawa. It has a stone foundation. It might have had knob and tube wiring at some point in time, old plumbing. So it's the type of property that you might just want to do your due diligence, get insurance secured before firming up that deal. Another situation might be if there's been historical damage to the property. If there's been a fire in the past, a flood in the past, that could pose problems for your insurance moving forward. So that's a condition that sometimes we're going to include in an offer, or you might encounter if you're selling one of those types of homes. All right, and the fourth and final condition we're going to talk about today, not to say there's not more conditions out there, is if you're purchasing a condominium property. So a condominium is actually a type of ownership. A lot of people hear condo, they just think, an apartment in a building that you own. And that is true, but it doesn't have to be an apartment. A condo is just a type of ownership where you essentially own the interior of the space, but not the exterior of the building or surrounding land. So it can be a townhome, a stacked condominium where you have someone above, someone below, or the standard type that you think of, condominium apartment. So when you're purchasing a condominium, because you don't own the structure, you do want to make sure that that structure and all the finances involved with it is financially sound and that they have a good plan moving forward for ongoing maintenance, things like that. So what all of this information is enclosed within is something called the status certificate. So when purchasing a property that is a condominium class property, you're going to include the review of a status certificate by a lawyer. So essentially, you're going to order that status certificate. It's going to talk about, the reserve fund. That's essentially the condominium's saving account that they have for future needs. Their operating fund, that's for ongoing needs like snow removal, landscaping, things that you have on an ongoing basis. And then you're also going to know about that owner and make sure that they've been paying their condo fees, which is their portion of the fees that go into this. So that's what you're going to have reviewed by a lawyer, and make sure that you're entering into a condominium that is financially sound and has a good plan moving forward. Okay, so those are the 4 main conditions that you're going to encounter in the Ottawa market if you're a buyer submitting an offer or a seller receiving an offer. So hopefully that gives you just a little bit of a better understanding of what a conditional offer is, what it might include, and what the purpose of including those conditions is. Now, of course, if you have questions about this, you can always reach out to me. And if maybe you're in the market to buy or sell, I'd love to hear from you. Let's get moving.